Finally, today we go to Bayshore Veterinary Hospital for our next installment of Vet Visits with Dr. Hunt.
All right, barbecue season is upon us and it's summer and it's hot. What do? Our dogs are out there with us when we're barbecuing, eating, having a couple of drinks, forgetting what we're doing. What happens with the dog and all of this fun time of year is they like to get in the trash. They like to get into certain things, especially that they just find really interesting to chew on, like bones, like rib bones, chicken bones that are already cooked, or corn cobs. Those are the big three things I tend to find over the summer when dogs get into trouble eating out of the garbage. That tends to aggravate and cause problems. Especially corn cobs will tend to obstruct the dog. The other thing, bones and such, tend to be very irritating. So when you do use your barbecue as a fun time with your pet around, just put stuff up high enough so they can't get into it, especially when you forget later on in the evening because you get tired. Other things that we want to try to avoid in the summertime would be high doses of foods that they're not used to. So for instance, we're barbecuing, we trim all the fat off a steak. All that steak fat is good for a dog to a limit. Too much is too much of a good thing, and that can lead to different diarrhea problems or pancreatitis for that matter. So a lot of beef fat, for instance, can really set tables in motion and end up at my door where it could have been avoided. They love it, but just back down on how much you give them. Other foods in the summertime you want to avoid, such as pits, like avocado pits or plum pits, nectarine pits. They just like to eat those, and those like to be taken out by the veterinarian for a very expensive amount that we can avoid. Again, they get into the garbage, they eat it for who knows what reason, but just remember with your different fruit insides, the pits, those are more of an obstructive problem than something that's going to be a poison per se. The last thing I would tend to remember is when I see issues or cases of dogs that like to flip their stomach. Okay, that's called GDV or gastrodilation volvulus syndrome. Many of these dogs have eaten pasta previously. They eat something that's highly fermentable, like some sort of a starch, and then they run around and all of a sudden their stomach gets very bloated up and their stomach flips. So I've had runs of animals, or dogs I should say, that have flipped their stomach that recently got fed some sort of a pasta dish. It sounds strange. There's many other causes for a stomach to flip, but what I'll see in the midsummer is a lot of dogs suddenly coming in that have eaten a ton of pasta from the table. We don't think about that, but it's something that quickly ferments, that can cause gas, that causes the stomach to do weird things and spin on its axis or twist, and then suddenly that's a big worry, and you got to get them into the vet. How do they present? Lastly, I'll leave you with is those dogs will try to be vomiting, but they're not. They act like their stomach is really causing them a great deal of pain because it's huge. Okay, so they're greatly distended and they want to puke but they can't. That happens. Call your vet, talk to them. So with that being said, remember, be your pet's best advocate. Have a good day.